Bad logos aren't always a bad thing because they sometimes get more attention than good logos. But when I was 13, I didn't know this. And just like every other kid, I wanted to start a clothing brand. But I couldn't because my design skills sucked. But now at 42 years old, I realized that it's actually still possible to do this. But only if I can create such a horrible design that people literally cannot ignore it. And so today, I wanted to put ChatGPT against Google Gemini to see which chatbot is the worst at redesigning famous logos. And then I'm going to use the winner to help me fulfill my dream of creating the worst t-shirt of all time. So we're going to start with a logo that's pretty hard to mess up, and I'm going to use ChatGPT first. So I asked ChatGPT for a 3-step plan for how to ruin the McDonald's logo, and straight off the bat, I could already tell it was going to look terrible. What the Sigma? So in step 1, they said to replace the golden arches with an awkward jagged shape and use a brown background with neon text. But there was just one problem. What's an awkward jagged shape? Let me ask ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT to clarify, but all it did was write an entire essay like an actual nerd. I ain't reading all that. But after I scrolled down for a bit, I found a shockingly bad attempt by ChatGPT to draw this shape for me, and so I literally had no other choice. Okay, this is what we're doing. Let's just start with the golden arches. How do we even do this? So apparently I have to turn the golden arches into this random shape that was probably gonna end up being some racist symbol in a random country I've never heard of before. I first tried to manipulate the original logo into the shape, but quickly realized it was as stiff as my sack of peanuts that I bought from the market this morning, and so I instead tried to trace it by hand. And they said it's an irregular shape, and so it doesn't matter how badly I do this, right? So it ended up looking shockingly bad, but for this video, it was actually better if it looks bad because I'm trying to find out which chatbot is the worst at designing logos so I can create the worst t-shirt of all time. Choose clashing colors that clash horribly and unappealing. So the next part of step 1 needed me to grab a brown background and green text, but for some reason, there was no brown color installed on my computer. How do I do brown? What is brown? How do I make brown? After I reported my computer to the police for this blatant racism, I literally grabbed a photo of real mud so I could color the background and then added some blank neon green text. I mean, that doesn't look too bad so far. Step 2 wanted me to use a combination of Comic Sans and Papyrus to write the McDonald's text, and also wanted me to add a shit ton of unnecessary text effects to the logo. Okay, so we're gonna create some sort of hybrid of 2 fonts. So most people are always strapped with Comic Sans on their computers in case they ever get held at gunpoint and are forced to write the entire Diary of a Wimpy Kid book from memory. But for some reason, I didn't have Papyrus installed on my PC, even though it's meant to be a system font. And so after I sent Bill Gates a very assertive email expressing not only my dominance, but also my disappointment in his operating system, I installed Papyrus and took a look at my hybrid McDonald's text. Oh, okay, we got it. Okay, we got the Papyrus. Okay, so the next things I needed to add were the unnecessary text effects, but there were 2 issues. What does bevel and emboss even mean? Okay, but I decided to just do the shadowing on the text for now, and for some reason, it actually made the text look better. This looks decent. This looks actually decent. But now it was time to actually search up what bevel meant, and I realized that it was just a text effect to make the text look 3D, sort of like ray tracing. And so I opened up the bevel menu on Inkscape and clicked the neon option. Okay, what the sick? Yes, that one sucked, and so I picked a new one. It looks like someone's just jizzed all over the letters. Okay, 3rd time is always lucky, and so I picked a random one again. It literally looks like someone has just gone sicko mode and just exploded their pants all over. Okay, after around 40 minutes, I finally found one that looked decent, but at this point, I kind of forgot the whole point was to make the logo look bad. This is fine. This will be good enough, okay? The other weird text effect it wanted me to add was emboss, and I also had to search this one up, but when I opened the emboss menu in Inkscape, something skibberdelicious happened. Radius 6, Sigma. Wait, do you see this? Do you see this? It literally says Sigma. What the Sigma is this doing here? The final effect I needed to add was a gradient, and I think I did a decent job at following the instructions. Difficult to read and visually unappealing. Yeah, this is definitely difficult to read. I can't even... Okay. For step 3 of the logo, it wanted me to insert random clip art images of a poorly drawn hamburger and a cartoon character, as well as making all the elements in the logo completely unaligned. This is looking a little bit skibbity. Okay, this could be bad. So first, I pulled up the World Wide Web to grab the shitty hamburger. No offense, but this is... We're gonna use this as the poorly drawn hamburger. Next, I grabbed some random cartoon character, and I actually got scammed by a fake PNG, and so I had this stupid white background on it, which was impossible to remove. But anyways, to finish the logo, I threw the cartoon character on the side of the box, put the hamburger in the loop, and overlapped the text with the yellow thingy. Okay, no, this is actually pretty bad. Now it's time to compare this result with Google Gemini's skills to see which chatbot is the worst designer and would be the best tool to use to create the worst t-shirt of all time. So I used the exact same prompt that I used for ChatGPT, and I pasted it into Gemini, and the 3-step instructions they gave me were looking pretty grim. What the skibbity? Step 1 was pretty simple. All they wanted me to do was create an uneven M logo with the left side looking like a blob and the right side looking spiky. And they wanted me to make the top bar look thicker than the legs, sort of like a Minecraft helmet. And so I got started with the left side of the M. So this is gonna be the left. Why does this look like Among Us? So you know what? I'm gonna keep Among Us in there. For the right side, I did a super sharp spike to complete the uneven M. Step 2 was also pretty simple. It wanted me to use a sickly green background and use purple and rusty brown for the M logo. What does a sickly green mean? Is this green? Sickly green? So yeah, I had no idea what sickly green meant, but when I searched it up, I realized that in American, the word sick means throwing up, but it's actually called vomit in Australian. To be honest, I'll probably try to learn how to speak American one day because I think it's important if I want to become a YouTuber, but also it'll be important if I actually want to turn the worst t-shirt design into a real brand. Anyways, I made the background a sickly green and did the purple and rusty brown color thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I could barely tell there was an M on my screen, and so I didn't know where we were gonna head with this. The second part of step 2 was that it wanted me to include a photorealistic image of a hamburger overflowing with unidentifiable meat. Unidentifiable meat. What do you mean by unidentifiable meat? Like like human meat or like peen meat. So I grabbed a random image of a hamburger, but then quickly realized something strange about the way Gemini worded the step. What do they mean instead of fries? Is there a McDonald's fries logo? So it turns out McDonald's has a specialized fries logo and it wanted me to do something similar, but there was absolutely no way this was gonna work, and so I just slapped the current logo on top of the burger. This doesn't really look like McDonald's at all. Anyways, for step 3, it wanted me to use an illegible font. Illegible font. Illegal font. Illegal font. Illegal font. Also, for some reason, it didn't want me to write McDonald's on the logo and instead offered me 2 choices: Greasy Eats or Fry Time. And it also demanded that I write "Look out, it's messy" as a disclaimer at the bottom. What the Sigma? Gemini specifically wanted me to use a dripping font and it suggested Bloodlust, which I downloaded and used to write the text. There's a difference between bad, like a bad logo, and like a cringe logo. This is kind of cringe. So it looks like this is the new McDonald's logo. Okay, so now it was time to compare which logo was worse, the ChatGPT version or the Google Gemini version. And for me, the answer was pretty clear. I feel like this one's a bit worse because at least it's recognizable. This one, I think this one, we have to disqualify Gemini for this round. So ChatGPT was now 1 point closer to being chosen as the chatbot to design the worst t-shirt of all time. But Gemini still has 3 more shots at redemption to see whether it can lose a bit more brain cells and redesign some worse logos. But for our next logo, we're gonna start with ChatGPT, and I used the same prompt to force it to give me a 3-step instruction manual for a horrible design. Oh my god! For step 1, it wanted me to warp the swoosh logo and make the thickness inconsistent. But this time, ChatGPT was trying to be nice and offered another helpful visual diagram to guide me. It thinks this is gonna help me. I don't know what this means. And so I decided it would be best to draw the swoosh by hand so I could accurately follow step 1. You know what? This is not too shabby. This logo is horrible. Step 2 wanted me to use a neon green background and color the swoosh in neon pink, as well as using the font Curls MT to write Nike. I'm gonna have to download so many fonts today. I'm gonna get a virus. I don't like this. After I colored the logo, it not only looked like Patrick the Star's shriveled dingaling, it also didn't look that bad. It's harsh on the eyes, yes. I'm getting blinded right now, but it's not too shabby, if I do say so myself. But now I just had to download the Curls font so I could write the Nike text. But yeah, this font looks like some Willy Wonka ass shit. Like, what is this? So yeah, it looked pretty goofy, but it wasn't that bad, to be honest. I mean, I'd still buy from this brand, I think. I don't know. Step 3 wanted me to add a random clip art soccer ball, an old-fashioned running shoe, and make the Nike text look super cluttered. And at this point, I realized ChatGPT pretty much said the exact same thing for the McDonald's logo, and I was considering to disqualify ChatGPT, but I decided not to because I actually wanted to see what Google Gemini could do with this logo later. Anyways, I grabbed some goofy-ass soccer ball, but when I searched up an old-fashioned running shoe, I couldn't believe what I saw. Oh my, what the hell? What are these? What are those? What are those? So I arranged these pictures around the logo horribly, and I chucked the Nike text over the entire swoosh so that you could barely even see it anymore. I mean, the colors are not too bad, but this is like... Why does it want clip art inside? That's okay, interesting. What are those? So now it was time to see whether Gemini would be able to do a worse job than ChatGPT at redesigning the Nike logo. Oh my Sigma! In step 1, I needed to break the swoosh into fragmented pieces with an inconsistent thickness throughout. And so to achieve this effect, I traced the swoosh with super sharp lines and cut it into several pieces. Okay, so I think this is a bit... I think this is jagmented enough. And at this point, the swoosh actually looked kind of good, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to see which chatbot is the worst at designing stuff so I can use one of them to create the worst t-shirt of all time. And so I completed the final part of step 1 and made each part of the swoosh a different thickness to the point where there was a glaringly obvious problem. So this is very unrecognizable right now, but that's literally what the instructions told me, and so I had to move on to step 2, which wanted me to ditch the entire swoosh. Wait, but you told me to make a swoosh. What? Okay, what was the point of that? And instead, it wanted me to use a symbol that had no relation to sports, and my mind immediately went to hell. Okay, I have an idea for a symbol I could use, but it's going to offend everyone. It's going to offend an entire nation of people, an entire it's not okay. So yeah, I had to scrap that idea, but luckily Gemini suggested that I could use a wilting flower instead. So I went on Google and found some random photo of a wilting flower to use for the Nike logo, which I started to realize was kind of stupid, but I had no choice. Step 2 also suggested that I use beige and pale yellow for the color scheme, and so I made the flower yellow and the background beige, but there was another issue. What is it? You can bet. Okay, is this really the Nike logo? So we're really not going to use this. This is why I spent so long making this. But I was annoyed that they didn't let me use this logo, and so I put it in the corner anyways. Step 3 required me to use another illegal font and also wanted me to replace the word Nike with either fizzle or snog. What is snog? That sounds like a racial slur for some reason. But at first, I had to find a font, and so I asked Gemini to suggest a font that I could download from Google Fonts, and it literally suggested a font that didn't even exist. Black Sword is not even on Google Fonts. But the alternative font it suggested actually worked, and so I downloaded it and wrote the text with it. But I actually completely forgot that I was meant to write snog instead of Nike, and so that's my bad. This is really not too bad. It's literally just a beige background with some random dead flower and then Nike in script font and then this random geometrical art here. But now it was time to compare the two chatbots and pick a winner for the worst design. So I think it's pretty obvious which logo is worse. I'd probably say, to be honest, the Gemini logo sucks. What is this? What is this wilting flower? And it made me get rid of this logo. I spent so long working on it. So now the points were even at 1-1. And at this point, I didn't think there was a clear winner yet for which chatbot was the worst at design. And so I moved on to the Starbucks logo. So I asked ChatGPT for a 3-step design instruction for a horrible version of the Starbucks logo. But straight off the bat, it tried to give me a visual diagram for what the final product might look like. What is this? I can't understand this. How does this help? This does not look like anything. But what I could understand was step 1, which wanted me to distort the mermaid to make her look grotesque with an unsettling expression. And so I knew I had to use some sort of warp tool, but the problem was that I didn't really know how to use it properly. I feel like nothing I do will make this person look bad. But around 30 minutes later, I think I figured something out. Like, make it super long. Okay, what is this? Whoa, wait. What if I just keep dragging the face down? What if I keep dragging it? How far can we go? What if we like somehow flip the logo inside out? And so I started warping the mermaid into itself to create some sort of monstrosity. You know what? We're actually onto something. But then I got a little bit carried away and started warping the mermaid so much that the face was no longer recognizable. But in the process, I actually discovered a hidden Easter egg within the Starbucks logo. Why is there an M here? What is this? What is this M? I'm kidding. The M was just from the TM bit, but this just shows how much I warped the original logo. And so I finally decided to stop warping it and work on the unsettling facial expression instead. Okay, I've somehow made the face upside down. You know what this should do for now? I think this should do for now. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna give it some fresh eyes here. Okay, so this is the unsettling expression. Okay, maybe we should flip this. Let's flip this upside down. Okay, this is a little bit creepy. This is definitely slightly unsettling. The last part of step 1 was that it wanted a chaotic outline for the logo instead of a clean circle, and so I drew a perfect maple leaf. Okay, so this is definitely a chaotic outline. Step 2 was pretty simple. It just wanted me to color the logo orange with a muddy brown background and use a combination of Comic Sans and Papyrus to write the Starbucks text. The coloring was pretty easy and it sort of started to look like someone had just broken a window and was peeking through it. But when I had to write the text, I realized we had one problem. Where was a Starbucks? Bro, there's no Starbucks coffee on the current logo. So I just had to guess where the text would be, and I think I actually put it in the worst place possible because it wasn't even inside the logo. But now it was time for step 3, which was strikingly similar to the previous step 3s for ChatGPT. But anyways, they wanted me to use a cartoon donut and a steaming cup of coffee in the logo somewhere and arrange the elements in a disorganized manner. So I tried to find an appropriate donut and I immediately found the perfect one. Let's do this. The fake PNG image. Let's do this. But when I tried searching up a steaming cup of coffee, I couldn't really find any good cartoons. And so I literally just grabbed a real life stock image with the Jetty Images watermark still attached to make it look horrible. I wanted to start making the elements look disorganized before I decided where I would actually place everything. And my first rendition was literally just all the elements on the brown background. This is kind of creepy, but it's not too shabby. And so I needed to make it look worse, and I decided to create a bit of a rainbow with the Starbucks text that began at the mermaid's forehead and ended not at a pot of gold, but at a fake PNG donut. This is looking a little bit scary. This is pretty bad. This is bad. What is this? But now it's time to see what Gemini can do with the Starbucks logo instead. And it gave me a 3-step plan to try ruin it. Step 1 was kind of similar to ChatGPT. It wanted me to twist the mermaid and give it a wide toothy grin with bulging eyes. And so I did some light twisting, but made sure I didn't go too far this time. I feel like this is low-key as twisted as I can make it. without ruining the face, because I need to use the face. So next I got started on the toothy grin, and my guy started looking like Luffy from One Piece, but I don't know if that was intentional or not. Okay. This is, okay, I don't even, okay, what are we doing? But when I started working on the bulging eyes, I realized that Google Gemini might actually be a design genius that perhaps would be too good to design the worst t-shirt of all time. This looks like a skull. I just realized the mermaid head, the white bit looks like a skull, and this is literally bulging out of the eyes. Okay, so that was probably an unintentional coincidence by Gemini, but next I added some bloodshot veins to make the eyes actually look bulging, and this logo was already looking very different to ChatGPT's version. Is this really the Starbucks logo? Is this really, okay, this, but in step 2, this piece of shit tried to make me delete the mermaid, just like with the Nike logo. What? Bruh, I spent so long building this siren. No, I'm not letting you replace my siren this time. Fuck you, bro. We're not replacing it. And so I only followed the other part of step 2, which wanted me to color the logo in orange and use a pink circle background. So orange and green with a pink background, okay. Step 3 was pretty simple. It wanted me to use a script font, and instead of writing Starbucks, it wanted me to write Sleepy Time Teapot, which I thought was kind of fire, TBH. But I was honestly losing my mind at this point, so I didn't even know what was happening. This guy looks like he hasn't slept for like 3 days. Okay, definitely on brand. So now I have to choose which logo was worse. Oh, this is hard. I feel like the worst one is, I feel like Sleepy Time. I was originally gonna say the Starbucks one, but this one looks horrible. This looks like I would not want to go to this place. So now Gemini somehow had the lead, but I still had one last logo to go before I could choose which tool to use to create the worst t-shirt of all time. I'm gonna be honest, both of these NASA logos ended up looking pretty ass, and so I'm gonna speedrun this section for you. I asked ChatGPT for a 3-step plan, and in step 1, it needed me to make the blue outline super jagged while also twisting the red thing just like a nipple cripple, and finally making all the stars super big and randomly spaced. Okay, I think this is as much as I can fit in to the NASA logo. What? I just delete. Step 2 got a little bit skibbity, and it wanted me to use a pink background with green text and yellow stars. But then it also wanted me to retype the NASA text with different fonts and different colors for each letter. This is when people like send those like cryptic letters using like the cutout letters of the things in like newspapers and stuff. But when I actually colored in the text, it was already looking pretty horrible. But I guess the whole overall shape is sort of recognizable. You see the stars and that, you get me? Step 3 was easy. They just wanted some dumbass cartoon rocket ship and also a smiling sun for some reason. And when I finished the logo, I think I made a huge mistake. Yeah, this is definitely a bit of a train wreck. But now it was time to compare it with Gemini. And I'm not gonna lie, Gemini could not compete with this at all. In step 1, it wanted me to cut up the red thing and replace the stars with a different shape. And so I made them look like red blood cells for some reason. They look like chess pieces. They look like chess pawns. Step 2 wanted me to use a black and white rocket ship, color the background of the logo purple, and use neon green for the NASA text. Okay, you know what? This doesn't look too bad so far. For step 3, Gemini changed its mind on the color and wanted yellow for the text instead, but it also wanted me to replace NASA with NAS and A, just to make it look a little bit skibbity. This is like the Lakers NASA edition. Like this is, and so when I had to choose a winner for the worst chatbot designer, I think it was pretty clear. We have a winner overall for the worst chatbot designer in the world, ChatGPT. What the sigma is this? What are you thinking? Okay, so even though the score was 2-all, I decided that I wanted to use ChatGPT to design the worst t-shirt of all time, because I think it was pretty clear that it had much more potential for horrible designs. So now it was actually time to put these new skills to the test and attempt to create the worst t-shirt of all time. I actually thought of 30 different ways I could achieve this, but I ultimately decided that the best way to do this would be to ask ChatGPT for a t-shirt design so bad that it could actually make someone go blind, and then spam the phrase "make it worse" 10 times in 10 separate messages to force ChatGPT to actually spit out a genuinely horrible design. The only issue I quickly realized was that ChatGPT took ages to finish answering each message, and so each time I asked it to make the design even worse, I literally had to wait 30 seconds. And when you add it all up, it meant this design literally took 50 whole minutes for ChatGPT to cook up, and so I knew it was going to be straight ass. But before I took a look at the 10th version, I took a quick peek at the first version. Right? Random meaningless slaves like eat spaghetti. What is that? That is actually, bro, that overload of clip art. Add excessive amount of low quality, including a dancing banana, a smiling sun, UFO. What pair of group? What? Okay, this. How many fonts is it listing? Okay, this is okay. Okay, back to the 10th version. Step 1 wanted me to use a neon green base with patches of neon pink, blue, purple, and orange. But the worst part was that it wanted me to combine zigzags, polka dots, stripes, checkerboards, swirls, spirals, houndstooth, plaid, and glitch art all into one pattern. To be honest, I didn't really understand what it meant by patches of color, and so I just did what I thought it meant. That's not too shabby so far. This is like some James Charles type beat so far. Before the pattern part, I realized that ChatGPT was literally about to enter my pooper because I couldn't find any usable templates for these patterns on the internet, and so I realized I would have to make them myself. I started with a zigzag and I sort of stamped it into the color patches. Next, I made a polka dot pattern and I also stamped it in. This is coming together nicely, yeah, just according to the ChatGPT plan. I don't know why I almost said Clash of Clans there, but anyways, after I did the stripes and checkerboard pattern, I ran into a bit of an issue. Bro, we have no more material left. We literally have barely any material left to work with. And so I decided to ditch the rest of the patterns and just move on to step 2 before I ended up erasing all the color patches. Step 2 was very strange. It was titled Font Madness and Text Torture. And the very first phrase in the instructions was Font Cataclysm. What is this? It's Font Orgasm Cataclysm. Okay. Summon fonts from the darkest depths of the typographic damnation. What? Basically, it wanted me to combine 6 fonts into a single word. But the next bullet point literally began with Text Torture Chamber. And this got a little bit too kinky for my liking. And so I quickly took a 30-second bathroom break and returned back to my room to realize that ChatGPT just wanted me to layer heaps of random text effects and subject each letter to unspeakable deformities. But I also realized that it never stated what word I was going to use for the t-shirt. And so I had to double check. Okay, it wants me to use eat spaghetti. Okay. So I was still haunted by eat spaghetti, but I realized that the phrase had 12 letters in it. So 6 fonts and 12 letters. So I think we do 2... So 2 letters per font. So the first font was called Wingdings, which I somehow had installed on my PC already for some reason. What is Wingdings? What even is Wingdings? So yeah, this was a bit of a skibbity font, but I had no choice. The next fonts were Algerian, Comic Sans, Papyrus, Curls, and Impact. And when I put them all together, I almost lost my edging streak for the 6th time today. This is definitely a set of letters. The next part of step 2 was that I needed to add a shadow, a bevel, a glow, a rotation, a gradient, but it also said I needed to add a blink. And even after searching it up, I still couldn't figure out what it was. And so I just chucked someone's eye behind the word instead. Wait, this actually looks pretty decent, honestly. Okay, I'm zooming too far in. Okay, it's breaking my PC. Now it was time for the final step, which wanted me to layer a bunch of dancing bananas, UFOs, clown faces, and hot dogs until it formed an impenetrable wall of visual cacophony. No wall is impenetrable for me. I will always find a way to penetrate. Actually, no, that sounds okay. So at first, I moved the Eat Spaghetti text onto the main t-shirt and downloaded all the images I needed to create the impenetrable wall. And so I guess we're just gonna try to layer it like this. We're gonna duplicate heaps of it. So I laid each cartoon to try create the wall, but this still didn't make me lose my skibberginity yet because there were still heaps of gaps. And so I tried to fill them in with bananas. It sort of looks like an Iron Man suit at the moment with like the thing in the middle, and it's like the Iron Man thing. I don't even know what it's called. And for the finishing touches, ChatGPT wanted me to add a shit ton of random effects. And to be honest, at this point, I realized that perhaps it was probably a good thing I never started a clothing brand.